After an absolutely horrendous main event last week consisting of Charlotte and Ric Flair and then Sasha Banks, I'm hoping that they dial it down with the Divas this week and that they up the game. The SmackDown girls are already beating them and they've just signed Mickie James by all accounts, so yeah, good luck with that. On a positive note from last week, I am actually looking forward to the New Day and seeing what they do with their title record breaking attempt. Speaking of which, the New Day come out and we're actually starting Raw with a fucking match for a change. Nice one. Xavier mentions that his grandma passed not so long ago, which invokes a nice little grandma chant from the crowd, and then Big E for some reason refers to himself as the meaty third leg of the New Day. That's nice. So we've got the New Day versus the Club versus Cesaro. And, you know, not to shit on the actual match because it was good, but I'm pretty sure that's not a triple threat tag team match. I think, now correct me if I'm wrong in the comments, that's a three corners match or a three corners tag match. It's not a triple threat tag match because there's only two in there at one time and not all three. The New Day managed to retain after Cesaro completely destroyed Carl Anderson. They thought they'd won it there and then until Kofi sneaked in for the pin. Despite really enjoying the match, I'm going to have to grumble a little bit here. I'm pretty sure that Kofi wasn't the legal man if they're going by the logic that they started the match with, but I'm going to get into that a little bit more later on. The highlight of the match for me was definitely Cesaro's Rampage. The guy's just fantastic. Later on in the show, Seth Rollins will be interviewing Kevin Owens as part of his Rollins Report show. And then Rusev and Lana are possibly going to do a parody of Edge and Lita's live sex show. Stephanie McMahon generously donates material to the internet for Brazzers memes in the future. The New Day are having a party backstage, Stephanie gives them a toast, and Xavier ends up getting champagne all over her. As you'd expect, her growler snarls at everybody and she storms off. While Stephanie dries herself off from all the excitement she had with the New Day, Kevin Owens shows up and says he's got an idea for her revenge. Steph says that if Owens just gives her 2 more minutes so she can go and give her undercarriage one last quick rinse, she'll be right with him. Next we're given a flashback of the Mick Foley, Sami Zayn, Braun Strowman affair. Within the last week, Sami Zayn sent out this threatening tweet, and then this leads into Braun Strowman versus Curtis Axel, which obviously Strowman just smashes his back doors in. Afterwards, Byron Saxton interviews Braun Strowman. Sadly, Strowman doesn't go mental and beat the shit out of Byron as well. I'm still pushing for hashtag Strowman versus Saxton at WrestleMania this year. Sami Zayn pesters Mick Foley once again for a match against Braun Strowman. Foley declines, and Zayn says he doesn't necessarily need Raw anymore. Foley says if that's the case, then I'll happily call Daniel Bryan and see if he can work out some kind of exchange. Midway through a match between Ariya Daivari and Lince Dorado, Jack Gallagher does the gentlemanly thing and announces that he's about to interfere in the match because of Daivari's actions last week. As he heads to the ring, Daivari charges at him, but Gallagher sends him packing.
It's Seth Rollins.
It's the Rollins Report. Seth can't really get over as a proper babyface just yet against Jericho and Owens, so he has to bleat on about Triple H again like he did last week. He tries to bring out his guest Kevin Owens, who brings a stool and sits on the ramp, says he doesn't want to get too close. He then talks about his discussion with Stephanie earlier on. She's pissed off at the New Day, and she's made a match for the New Day later on, so they have to defend the titles yet again against Jericho and Owens. This brings Chris Jericho out, who just says he's not interested. But Owens paints a very nice picture of them as double champs. Seth Rollins stirs the pot a bit, but that backfires because it just brings Jericho and Owens a little bit closer. Jericho focuses all his frustrations on Rollins then, and when he's just about to put him on the list of Jericho, he changes his mind. He says he's going to put him on the disabled list instead. Jericho and Owens take advantage of the fact there's 2 of them and only 1 of Rollins, so they go down and jump in, beat the shit out of him. But then eventually, we get Super Reigns, who just destroys, and then Jericho and Owens have to run away. After about 10 minutes of conversation between Rich Swann, the Brian Kendrick, and TJ Perkins, we finally get into a cruiserweight match between Kendrick and Perkins. And then, like 2 minutes in, we're shown how much they really care about the cruiserweight division, and we go straight to adverts. And after a pretty short match, Kendrick beats Perkins with sliced bread number 2. At least they actually plugged a Raw product in Roadblock this week and not just 205 Live, so I suppose that's a thumbs up. While Seth Rollins and Roman Reigns are wandering around backstage, Mick Foley finds them and tells them that he just marked out at them fighting off Jericho and Owens. He then announces that Rollins and Reigns will also be in the Tag Team Championship match in the main event. Now it's time for a Divas video package. We made history, blah blah blah, pat myself on the back, we made history, blah blah blah. That's about it, to be fair. That video package made the Hell in the Cell match actually look kind of average, so well done for that I suppose. Yeah, the rest was just how to give two newbies 3 title reigns each in 10 minutes, because, you know, we like female talent because they've either left because they're actual wrestlers and they just don't like the environment, or because they're little bints that just wanted to be on TV and they've had their opportunity and they're doing other things now. Well done. There's something for you to pat yourself on the back for. This week on Crazy for JJ's, it's Bayley versus Alicia Fox. Again. And Bayley wins with a Bayley to belly. Again. And yes, the icing on the cake is that this is all over a bloke. Well done. Don't just love WWE's perception of women. Lana seems pretty proud of herself for what she did last week, tricking Enzo Amore and luring him into a trap, only to let Rusev beat the piss out of him. Lana introduces the only snout allowed in her trough, and Rusev comes out and gloats about smashing Enzo Amore last week and Lana afterwards. He then tries to tease the crowd with a peek at their sex tape. The crowd don't really bite, and then eventually they reveal they were never going to show them it in the first place. After the pair slag off Enzo a bit more, Big Cass comes down to defend his friend. They fight for a bit, with Big Cass just no-selling everything until Rusev eventually throws him into the ring post and then runs away with Lana. Kevin Owens tries to rekindle the friendship between himself and Chris Jericho. Jericho tells him to just worry about tonight and not too far into the future. So it seems the WWE are going backwards with the whole Emelina thing now. This week it said coming soon, although last week it said next week, so where is she? Hopefully this trend continues and they keep going all the way back to the point of her, previous gimmick where it wasn't just a bird with a fucking arse out. After Sami Zayn makes relatively light work of Jinder Mahal, Foley comes out to congratulate Zayn on what could be his last match on Raw ever. Foley says he's been on the phone with Daniel Bryan and have come to an agreement to trade a talent of equal value with Sami Zayn. Zayn seems pretty happy with this, he just doesn't need to know, but Foley pesters a bit and he announces that it was for Eva Marie, which obviously guts Sami Zayn. The only person that seems happy about this is Corey Graves. Zayn blows a fuse and goes absolutely batshit crazy at Mick Foley for a few minutes. Foley eventually reveals that the contract in a folder wasn't a contract at all, just a plain bit of paper, and the whole thing was just a test to see if he could get Zayn to show his dark side. He decides to make a 10-minute match at Roadblock between Zayn and Strowman. If Zayn lasts, he wins. Well, he just doesn't die. So John Cena hosted Saturday Night Live this week. I might actually have to give it a watch, it could be quite funny. Before we get into the main event, we come back from the commercial break, and Roman Reigns' music's still playing, so it's a nice bit of subliminal messaging just there, just pumped into the live crowd for a good 5 minutes or so. Kevin Dunn and Vince McMahon just sneaking some praise for Roman Reigns and hoping people eventually love him. So it's the New Day versus Chris Jericho and Kevin Owens versus Seth Rollins and Roman Reigns. This isn't a triple threat tag match either, like I said before, this is a 3 corners tag match or whatever it's called, please someone correct me. There were some great moments in the match, including I think it was a 6-man superplex / powerbomb from the top. It looked a bit awkward because people on the same team were attacking each other technically, but it looked impressive nonetheless. Chris Jericho and Kevin Owens seem to have won it at one point with the pop-up code breaker, but in a heart-stopping instant Seth Rollins pushed Kevin Owens onto Jericho to break the pinfall. This causes Jericho to get in Kevin Owens' face, Seth Rollins hits Jericho with a pedigree, Big E drags Seth Rollins out and Xavier's still in the ring to make the cover. After the match, Kevin Owens and Chris Jericho continue to argue. Jericho sees that Roman Reigns is in the opposite corner stalking Kevin Owens. He doesn't give Owens the heads up and just leaves. So Roman spears the snot out of Owens when he turns round, and that's it. 3 cheers this week go out to Cesaro, just like a fucking boss, he's rampaging that first match. Deadlifting folk like he always does, flying high off the top, just a madman. Quality. It was a pleasant surprise this week when Raw started with a match, and not just any old match, a fucking decent match at that. You can keep that up and do it more often. It was obviously a great night for the New Day. Not only was it fun for fans to watch the New Day, but I'm sure it was fun for them to work with most of the top guys on the roster. The title reign's been built to be broken now, and it's paid off nicely. You can hopefully move along and let somebody else have the straps for a while. I'd like to see Gallows and Anderson or Sheamus and Cesaro, but we'll see. Y2KO make the list again. I'm just constantly guessing where it's going. I don't know if they're going to start fighting now or in a week, or if they're going to build it even longer. So I've been back and forth a little bit with how to present the next entry. Someone that's made quite regular appearances in the good shit section, and he maybe deserves his own section now, but for now we'll just keep him in the middle of the pack so he doesn't draw too much attention away from people at the start or the end of the list. Corey Graves had me and the missus both in tears this week, asking if Lince Dorado wore his mask to the class that he taught, saying that he wanted children and people in the crowd to throw bricks at Byron Saxton, being disgusted at Sami Zayn for just the thought of wanting to go to SmackDown. He marked out quite heavily with the announcement of Eva Marie coming to Raw, and then he sulked afterwards when it was all just a swerve by Foley. And although it might not seem like much to some people, he's part of the nuts and bolts that hold the whole thing together. It's not just about the in-ring action, it is about the presentation. And in some cases, he's the only person apart from the talent themselves that buys into their gimmick. So he's a great asset in that respect too. The Divas get a mention this week simply for the fact that there was very little of them. I didn't like what was there, but at least there wasn't like half an hour's worth in total like there was last week. So, you know, it's good to keep it brief if you've got nothing good to say or do. I joined in with the live crowd this week and I was cheering for Roman Reigns. I was cheering for him for, you know, not letting Big E do his stupid fucking suicide dive, so there you go, no other reason. And Big Cass gets a big shiny gold star sticker this week for coming out and letting everybody know that he's got his pants up. Well done, mate, who's a big boy. No, yeah, you are, but yeah, well, never mind. Right, so let's see who needs a smack in the mouth this week. Just a slight annoyance to start things off. The logic with the triple threat tag team matches, why weren't the 3 people in the ring at once? Why were the 2? That didn't seem like a triple threat to me. Yeah, not amused. I did check back afterwards though, and I do think Kofi made the tag. The camera didn't catch it, but the referee was pointing at Kofi like he'd interacted in some manner, so I assume he did make the tag, so he was the legal man, but it should have been 3 in the ring at once. WWE are trying their best to get 205 Live over, saying it's the home of the cruiserweights. This would explain why the cruiserweights themselves don't pay much attention to Raw, because most of the matches go to non-finishes or the short matches, and then they settle the differences on 205 Live, just like on Total Divas. I feel like I'm at a point now where I pretty much can't say anything else I haven't already said. I've had a few people get on my case because I call them divas and they don't like how I see the divas, but all I see are divas. They've changed the name, which is a good thing, call them the women's division now, but they still act like divas. Now I know most of them are guilty of this because of pressure from management or creative or whomever, but some of the lasses are putting in a lot more work than others, and some of them are getting recognition and getting shined up real nice on television, and some are just being ignored. Charlotte and Sasha can sing all they want about how great they are and pat themselves on the back, give each other a title belt every month to make themselves look like they've been there a while, but, you know, it all just falls pretty flat when you're not putting on as good a matches as the lasses on SmackDown. Or the lasses on NXT, with Asuka and Mickie James putting on a great match at TakeOver Toronto. If you'd have given a Hell in a Cell to either of those or both of them, it would have been much better. Natalya and Naomi are still getting better over the years. Natalya's been around a few more years, but Naomi's got a lot better. There was a point where I just couldn't watch anything she did because it was just that painful and I wondered why she was there. But she's come along in leaps and bounds, and she's a great little worker now, and she will get better over the years. Also on SmackDown you've got Alexa and Becky, who didn't put on the best tables match ever, but it was a much better tables match than Sasha and Charlotte's Hell in a Cell match was. I was personally a lot more invested in what was going to happen. They're both young, but they're busy learning rather than telling people how great they are in the storyline and in real life. Same story for Carmella and, dare I say it, Fake Tits Bella. You know, she's not the greatest worker, but she's not the worst. She's pretty boring to me, she's got a couple of moves that look alright. Her kick off the guardrail at TLC was quite good, and it sadly just has got to the point where I'd rather watch Fake Tits Bella against anybody than watch Charlotte and Sasha one more time. And that's it for another week. If you'd like to comment, please follow the link in the description to the Botchamania site and do so there. If you'd like to follow me on Twitter, I can be found at Blunt Damage, and if you like the music heard in this, the band is The Colour Fire, and they can be found at www.thecolourfire.com. I'll see you next week.